Hi, I'm Tony Bowen and welcome to my Corn Country Rails YouTube channel. This video is going to cover just part one of a 5-part series I'm going to do of coverage of the N-Scale convention that was held in Kansas City this past June. Kansas City is roughly 6.5 hours away from where I live in eastern Iowa, so I got up early, drove to Manchester, Iowa to pick up my friend Michael, and we headed on our way to Kansas City. As we were planning our trip, one of our main stops was going to be Midwest Model Railroading Hobby Shop, and it did not disappoint. It was definitely worth the stop. The store is well organized with primarily HO on one side, N-Scale, DC, DCC, and scenery materials on the other, and just very well laid out, very well organized, and be able to price check items as you're shopping was also kind of a neat bonus. Since this was our first stop, I didn't want to spend all my N-Scale convention money, so I stuck to my list, purchased items for projects and a few other people that sent me a list, and I did pretty well. We arrived at the hotel shortly after 3 o'clock so we could check in. As soon as we got checked in, we started setting up our room for a room sale. And then we also knew that if we set our room up, we could also hit other room sales before we opened. All right, we're ready for our room sales later on after 6 o'clock. People can come and buy all our excess N-Scale stuff we don't need. All right, let's go check out some of the other room sales that were spread out among the hotel. The room sales were incredible, but we had to make it back to our own room by 6 so that we could have our own. At that same time, we ordered a pizza so we could be in the room and have something to eat for dinner. The pizza was outstanding. At a few of the room sales, we had to call our friend Bob and Connor back in Iowa about some Chicago Great Western deals we found for them. Room sales were also a great time just to talk with old friends like my friend Sean from Jacksonville, Florida. Man, what a great looking shirt he's wearing. Wednesday morning kicked off the tours. We went on the AM morning layout tours and then the PM Kansas City Streetcar tour. Our first layout that we went to visit that morning was Jon Percy's Buffalo and Pittsburgh layout. It's a 27 by 31 N-Scale layout. Jon's layout has been published in many model railroading publications over the years. I think it's always interesting to look at how somebody else sets up operations for their railroad. So I took a few pictures of some of the rules and guidance for operations, thinking there may be definitely items that could be brought back to my own layout that could be replicated.
Unfortunately, we missed that one.
if I have to stop somewhere, just mention it.
Yep, I'm doing videos here. It's fine seeing it in motion.
Yes, still in the planning stage. It's coming along. Yes, I can run trains. Yes. I actually got pictures. If you will see here, the only.
The second layout we visited that day was Joe Kasper's Burlington Northern Marias Division N-scale layout. This is a 50 by 50 N-scale layout. Now the day we were there were 27 of us on the bus. We all fit in the layout room with no problem and plenty of elbow room and space between us. Joe shared with us that usually 21 operators makes his railroad run the most efficient. I thought this was a neat little structure that Joe had on his layout. It's simply one of the extra buildings in one of the N-scale Walthers kits. Joe's added an elevator to it and made it a small industry.
Everybody gets a job. So now that you've seen Jon Percy, he's obviously the scenery. I'm the track work, wiring, all the turnouts are hand made by me. Microengineering. I use the fat track paper, print it out and then I put them in place, and I like to build them in groups.
A little different green.
And they look next time, just looking them over.
MKT. Key. Must be branch. This is branch arm.
Capture the EMS.
One observation that a lot of us noticed when we got back on the bus is I don't know if Joe put down extra padding under the carpet, but it was so cushiony to walk on, which, you know, you think about standing on your feet during an operating session, that is definitely important to make it comfortable.
That one might, and then the second one is coming up from Murray where we transition from the lower to the upper level. I'm guessing that one's about. I had to make a choice of block types, and I got 25 plus. And then a lot of operations.
Joe even has part of his basement for the crew lounge painted up in Burlington Northern colors. The third layout we went to visit that day was Bret Overholtzer's Missouri, Kansas, and Texas MKT St. Louis subdivision. His layout is about 25 by 15, and I really like this layout because it was very comparable to the size of my layout at home.
Yeah, as much as you could do is testing things like that. They always fail.
It was also neat to get a chance to see this layout as Bret was sharing with us that he and his wife are selling their house and moving to a new house. So in this case, Bret is pretty excited about the designing and development of a new layout of his MKT railroad once he's in his new home.
For this? I did one. We went to this home.
Yeah, I think the thing with my layout, it's small enough, it's not really conducive to operations.
Right?
And he even had some.
So they came over our house, and they went down into the basement to see the trains. I mean, I gave them each a car, but they were just, that's all they talked about for about 6 months. He said it wasn't just the trains, it was
Brett and I also have one thing in common, as I am MMR 414 and he's right after me at being 415. So we had a pretty small window of time once we got off the morning bus to have lunch, which we did our leftover pizza, and then got on an afternoon bus to go to the Kansas City Streetcar Tour. We really didn't know what to expect, but it was definite. Everybody who works for the Kansas City Streetcar Company has a sense of pride. They enjoy what they're doing, and they were more than willing to share the history of the Kansas City Streetcar with all of us.
Bogies, actually, you can kind of see that skirt right behind that door. There's a wheel. I'm using terms. If I use a term you don't understand, raise your hand, throw a rock, something. But anyway, set of wheels, 4 wheels there, 4 wheels there, and the center actually floats behind on those hinge pivot points. So it allows it. The water you're seeing is because they're running a hose. They're washing the air conditioner and all the drains. So the condensate water off the air conditioners goes down to the track. That's normally how those work. So that's what you're hearing. But this gives us access to the underside. There's not a lot there except for the boat. But other than that, we don't. There's not a lot of these others with that particular arrangement around. They also have 4 motors, so each wheel has its own motor, own gearbox. We call them a unit, but there's actually 2 motors bolted back to back, and gearbox on each end. So they're basically 8-wheel drive. As different. Now, Don will point out that behind us we used to have a wheel lathe where we used to, how you had to make the wheels round again. We have upgraded from our old wheel lathe to a milling machine.
The shop tour was very interesting and very informative. The streetcars in Kansas City are 0 entry at the platform, so they're ADA compliant, that wheelchairs can roll right in and right off. Also, it's free to ride due to a special tax that the businesses and stores that line the route pay. And they're very happy with that because it obviously brings traffic in and out of those businesses. After the streetcar tour, the official registration area was opened up so we could pick up all of our literature and items from the N-Scale Enthusiast registration area. This also allowed some time to kind of freshen up from the 2 tours and get ready for the Microtrain's welcoming reception banquet that evening.
List for us?
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, George. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the opening, the first official event, the welcome reception.
And of course, it's always fun to kind of talk with all your friends at the end of the day about what adventures they went on and also share what you did for the day. We also got the announcement that next year's convention for 2026 will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Well, I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of my N-Scale convention coverage. Please be looking at the playlist because I will be releasing other parts of this year's convention for 2025. As always, thanks for watching and happy railroading to you.